In last lecture, we learn about how to create a table, and now today we'll discuss about the insert operation. And we face some problem regarding insertion operation. So there is a problem regarding insertion operation was when we add the column name with the data type. So in that section, we added the given variable by using a square bracket open close. So it will be treated as a string. So that's why we got the different kinds of error. So today we'll discuss about how we'll insert the table. Okay, right now I don't have any table, so let's start the pg admin and we will start the actual working on the insert operation. So in that we will create first table, and after that we'll insert operation, we'll perform the update operation, also we will perform the delete operation, and majorly we will focus on the alter table. See, by using the diagram, whenever we create any table, okay, at the time of we all know that in the MySQL workbench, we need to gather that information, and after that we'll need to process that information. After that we need to create that information into tables and columns, and later on we need to add the data type. Even though we know about the layers, there are three layers: physical, logical layers. So just we need to analyze the data and add the data type. So for that reason, once we added the given attributes or column inside the table, so we cannot able to do alter operation earlier. Okay, when we perform the operation, we cannot do the alter operation, and we cannot change the columns, table names like that. Okay, so the major important part, once we created the database, once we created the tables inside that database, we need to modify that tables. Okay, so that important thing we need to learn about that. So we have the option called as a alter. By using that, we can perform a number of operation. We can discuss today about that, don't worry. So here my workbench, here the pg admin will be started. So just click it and full screen. So in that I have a server, and the server inside that Postgres 13 version is there, and in that I have a database called as a tycac. So just I will click on that and just open the query tool. So because by using query we need to create the tables. Okay, we already learn about how to create a table by using the drag and drop option, or we can say that the click operations. So for example, here I don't have any table right now, so in the schema section I have a table option, but I don't have any tables. Okay, so by using just right click on that table section, we can create the table. Don't worry about that, we can create the table. But there is a chances to understand how we'll create the table by using the what do we say, command line interface or command line prompt. We need to understand that concept, and once we created, we need to understand the operation of create, insert, update, and delete. Okay, so just we need to understand this operation. So first of all, we'll create the table one more time, and later on we'll discuss about that. And in last section, there's a problem regarding the insert operation, and we discuss about the integer and serial data type. So let's start. First of all, here I will create the student table, and that I will add the information of student, and after that we'll insert the student information. Okay, so just make a note of that. There are some steps to write a query. We can write a query in single line also, but for the practice purpose, or we can say that for the corporate or understanding purpose, we need to write, or we need to break that query in several lines, so you will get the brief idea regarding that query. Okay, so in the exam, we can say that we can write a query in a single line, so we need to avoid that statement, because we need to understand, we can read that query clearly. So for that reason we need to break. So let's take one example. So here I want to create a table, so I will specify the attribute create. It is mandatory to create the table, and here table attribute is also mandatory to create the table. After that we need to specify the table name. Okay, so for example, my table name was a student. I want to create a table name as a student. Open curly brace, open round bracket, open close, and terminate the statement. This semicolon is not mandatory. We already discussed in the earlier session. This semicolon is not mandatory. We can use, it's an optional. If you want to use, then you can use. Okay, so here I will specify that, and I will write my code inside that round bracket. Okay, so here I will write. So we all know that how we'll create the table. So for that we require the attribute name, we require the data type. So for that example, so here I will use attribute. Okay, attribute name After that the data type which we required, and after that the constraints. After that the constraints. After that we need to specify the constraints and we need to use a comma for separation. So we need to follow this rule. Okay, so for example, first of all we required a column name. Column name is a nothing but attribute which we required. After that, what type of data we need to access? In last section we discussed about the data type and what type of data we need to accept in the your tables or accept inside the table. So we need to specify that. Okay, and whether that value must be unique, not null. So we need to specify by using a constraint if you want. Okay, if you don't want, just remove it. If you want, then we can add the constraint later on by using alter table. We can add the constraint also, so don't worry about that. Okay, if you miss the constraint. Okay, so now here I will remove this and I will add the stud underscore id. This is my attribute name, and instead that stud id I want to use a serial. We all know that the serial data type is used for the auto increment. There is no need to insert the data at the time of insert operation. Okay, this is the property of serial. So it will be auto increment the value. For example, the first record will be added, we get the one number. Second record will be added, we get the two number. Third record will be added, we get the four number. Fourth record will be added, we get the fourth number. And once we deleted the second record, so we get this type of series. Okay, so we did not overwrite this value. Once the value will be allocated, we get the same value. Okay, so make a note of that. So make sure that if you want to delete this, then do not use the serial operation. If you want, okay, if you still want that serial, then you can use. So after that, what type of data we need to use? So I want to use as a primary key. Now can I able to use not null value inside that serial data type? There is a no need. Okay, we all know that the primary key is the unique key and the serial is auto generated. Auto generated means what? System generated. So if you want to, if we add the not null value, there is a no role for that not null value inside the student id, because the serial will automatically generates the number. Once we insert the record, it will be automatically generated. So don't worry about that not null value inside the student id. After that, here I'm going to add the stud underscore f name, that means first name, because we need to follow the rule of normalizations also. If we add the only student name as a first name and last name, then it does not follow the rule of normalization. We all know that while performing the operation we need to understand the concept of normalization. We already discussed about that for first nf, second nf, and third nf. Okay, these are the most important rules where we discuss inside that normalization theory. Okay, and we did the practicals also. So here I will use a first name, and for that make a note of that earlier when we can use the varchar inside that like 20. So when we use a square bracket and open close, then it will be considered as a string, or we can say that it will be considered as array. And for array, if you want to insert the value, we have an option of curly brace open close. So we need to mention the value inside that curly brace open and curly brace close, like that. Here we need to insert the value like, so for example, first name is, if you want to insert, then we need to insert like that. Okay, so there's a problem for that, and just you can use the varchar. Just you can use the varchar or you can use the round bracket open close. Okay, so both you can use. Okay, so whenever you use varchar, then the default length, this is the interview type of question. Okay, so by default length of that varchar is 80 character. Make a note of that. This type of question will ask the what is the difference between varchar and varchar round bracket open close. Okay, so here the by default size is 80 and it will be auto incremented. So that means if you want to store the 20, then it will be used 20. If you want to use a 50, then it will be used for 50 among the 80. Okay, so rest of part will be removed. Okay, so this one is a varchar and the by default length will be the what we say 80. And if you don't want to use, I want to use the name character as 20, then use a round bracket open close. That means that it will consider the name up to 20 character. Make a note of that. And here I will add the property or constant as a not null. So here the constant as a primary key. Now I want to add the constant as a not null. So we can add, and by using a comma we can separate also. So here also use student underscore last name, and again I want to use a varchar my data type, and here I will specify same constant, and here I will use not null. The meaning of not null, that means while inserting the value, make a note of, I will show you the demo also. While inserting the value, if we trying to inside the first name only, student first name only, okay, the serial number is automatically generated, primary key student id will automatically generated, and if we insert only student f name, okay, and if we have a not null, then the student last name will be generated an error. We'll discuss about that, okay. And if we remove this not null, that means the value will be null. Okay, if you forgot, or if you don't want to store the value into last name, then we can do it by using the different options. Okay, make a note of that. Okay, so this add constant, if you add the unique value, then it will avoid the duplicates value. That means we can use the unique value constraint also. Okay, so now here I will use a student contact number. So for that, just I will use a stud. I will use con, that means contact number, and I want to use varchar. If you want to use a varchar, if you don't want to perform the operation on that number, then you can use. Okay, if you want to see, just imagine that for a particular student mobile number, how will perform the logical operation, how will perform the relational operation, or how will perform the some aggregate function, average, add, sum. We cannot able to perform that operation. So it's upon you. Okay, it's up to you which data type is used for the contact number. You can use a varchar also, or you can use a small int, big int. Small int is not usable. Big int we can use. Okay, so 2 to the power big int is a 32. That means we can use that. Okay, so it's up to you. If you don't want to perform any operation on existing data, then I will suggest make it as a varchar. Okay, make it as a varchar. But here I want to use that. Suppose if you want to find out, like how do you how we can find out that how first number mobile number is greater than second number. We cannot able to do that operation, and it's useless operation. So for that, just I will suggest the given data type as varchar, and here we'll provide the length as varchar length as a 10, and that value must be a not null. Okay, if you don't want to use, then you just use a big int instead of that varchar. Okay, if you want to use. Now the last one is I want to use a student email address to make a communication. So here I will use student email. Again, I will use a varchar, and for that, just I will provide a 50 characters, and that also I don't want as a not null. I want data. Okay, if you want to insert. So here is a command. By using that, we can create a table, and we'll add some information inside the student table. So if you want to perform a insert operation, it is mandatory to do that create. Right now, I don't have any table. That's why I have created the table. So trying to execute that query, see query returns successfully in 131 milliseconds. So it required a time to execute. And but here we did not get any table. Why? Because see why? Because we did not refresh our tables or database. Okay, for that, right click it and refresh the table. So now we get the table name information as a student, and if you want to check the column names, then we can check the column names. If you want to check the constraints, see we can check the constraint. We have a primary key as a constraint. So here we have a primary key, and these all are the table names. So if you want to check the empty table, because right now we don't have any data inside that table. Okay, so here I will use a select everything from the table called as a student. It's a standard way to do the practice. So here we get the table. I have attribute student ID, student first name, student second name, student contact number, student email ID. This form is in the first normalization form, second normalization form, and we can say that third normalization form. Okay, it's standard practice to do the normalization techniques. So now we have successfully created the table. Now we need to insert the data inside the table. So make a note of that while inserting the operation, while performing the insert operation, make a note of that. Just remember the column name. If you're trying to forgot the column name, then we did not insert the data. We get the different kinds of error. Okay, for example, we get the error as we miss the particular name or the particular columnist name is not exist. There's a property called as not null. We'll discuss about that after completion of that operation. We'll discuss about not null operation kya hota hai in the alter table. Okay, so you will get the brief idea regarding that. Now I want to insert the value inside that. So for we have a keyword called as insert and into. So what will be the name of table? Here we need to specify the table name. After that, here we need to specify the column list. Once we specify, after that we need to add values, and after that we need to specify value underscore list. Okay, so we need to specify value underscore list. Okay, so this one is a syntax to insert the value. Make a note of that. If your attribute is not null, if your attribute is not enough, just I will show you a demo. Suppose I want to insert only first name. Don't worry about this student id, because it is a serial data type, it will be auto generated. Okay, and when I trying to insert only student name, we get the error. Which type of error we get? We get the error of null property, because student last name, student contact number, student email address has a null property. Okay, if we didn't have that property, then we can easily insert the single column value. Okay, so for example, insert into the table name is called as a student. Here we have a table name called as a student, and inside that just I want to specify the attribute name, that is student underscore f name, that means first name. And after that, here I will use a values, and after that I will provide the name attribute. So the my first name is Arvind. Okay, so now I'm trying to execute, we get the error. See, student lost name. When we talk about the first name, we don't have any option. We don't have any error. The null value column student last name of relation student violates the not null constraint. Okay, so we specified that the last name is we need to specify that the last name is not null, and here I'm trying to insert the value without that last name. That's why we get the error. So it following failing to row constraint one Arvin null. Okay, this null is for not last name, this null is for contact number, and this null is for email address. So we get the 23502 error because we get the not null error. Okay, so we cannot able to insert. Okay, so for that we need to alter table. We'll discuss in alter table, or just what we say. So just I will create one table, so you will get the better idea regarding that. So see, just 1 seconds. Already created that table. Yeah. Now just here I will use a stud table. Make a note of that. I want to remove this property, not null. Make a note of that. We have a different table here. We have a different table stud. We also have a student, and we are working on the student table, or instead of that student I want to use called as xyz. So don't confuse xy. I want to create a xyz table. In that student id, first name, last name is there. So trying to execute that code and just refresh your table, we get the different table called as see xyz. In that we have attribute called as a stud. Okay, so we have these attribute. Now I want to insert the data inside that first name only. I don't want to insert it for last name, contact number, and email value, because the constant is not added in last name, constant, first name, and email address. So just do the operation. Here I'm trying to insert into the name of table is xyz, and after that we need to specify the attribute, just one attribute. So here I want to specify the attribute student first name. Okay, so here I will specify the values. Here just I will specify the list, and here I want to specify my name. So just before that, just will retrieve all the data from the table called as a xyz. So आपको पता चलेगा इसके अंदर see retrieve the data primary key student first name, last name, contact number, and email id. So we retrieve that and just we need to execute the operation, insert into xy. Just I want to enter inside that. The rest of all columns will be treated as null value. Make a note of that. Rest of all columns will be treated as null value. Why? Because these all attribute don't doesn't have a constraint called as a not null. Doesn't have constraint called as a not null. Okay, so just execute it and check it. Executed successfully. Now, just 1 minute. I want to retrieve the data. See, we get the student auto generated number as a one, student first name as a Arvind, last name don't have, student contact don't have, student email address don't have. Okay, so ये execute यहाँ हो गया, but same thing अगर मैं यही execute यही policy में अगर what we say inside the student करता हूँ, instead of that xyz, just I'm trying to use this in student, we get the error. See, we get the error because it violates the not null constraint. Make a note of that. Okay, so like that we can do the operation. So just retrieve the data from we'll insert the data inside the our student table. So student first name is there, that student underscore real name is there. After that, student first name, student last name, which attribute contact number is there, student underscore con is there, and last one student underscore email is there. Okay, so these are the options, and here we'll specify the things. So I will specify my last name. The contact number is also ANCAR, so that's why I've included into string, and the last is also string. So for that, here I will write my email id. So email id, so we can just put it into the database. Okay, so this is my information, just I want to execute it. See, query return successfully, the time is 85 milliseconds. So just I want to retrieve the data. So for that, we all know that select command is there. Select all from the name of attribute called as a student, table name as, see, we get the data, student id, student name, student last name, student contact number, student email id. So make a note of that, these are the auto generated numbers. So here we get the auto generated series. Okay, so like if you want to use another values, instead of this, use my friend name, number is same over this email address, and I would execute it. Okay, so we successfully stored that. Okay, so we'll add one more data. Okay, so we require a data to perform the operation, that's why I want to add that. Done. Okay, so now just check out, select query, select everything from the attribute called as a student. We can see that table called as a student. So trying to execute that, so we get the data. We get all the data, 3 4 5, the name of employee, the student last name, first name, last name, these are the contact number, and these are the email addresses of students. Okay, so if we have students, then we have that data. So like that we can insert the data into a database and inside the table. Okay, so this is the one way, or we can also insert the data by using different way. So like insert to name is student, and round bracket column here, uh, we need to specify that columns. So values, so for example here I want to specify a name called as Rohit. that I want to provide a contact number, plus email ID. So hit Gmail. Just I'm trying to execute that information. So hit that. So we get the error over there. Okay, syntax error near Rohit. What is the reason behind that? Just 1 minute. So here we get the error of what we say um, serial number data type. So that's why we get the error. So just what should we do? Just we stood and set stored into store. Why? Because we use the integer number. That's why it is my XYZ table. Oh, XYZ was not there. XYZ. We have problems to the ID, to the F name, to last name, to the contact number, and see, we can use this query inside the MySQL workbench. So don't worry about that. We can use same thing. Okay. So, but there is a another syntax in the inside that query. So that's why maybe not executed. Okay. So in last section, I think while performing the which operation using the table operation. So in that we did the insert operation. Okay. So think मैंने किया था ये. Just 1 second. Yeah, in union operations, see, we did the operations. So like ये diagrams के लिए हमने values insert किए थे. So at that time we perform that operations student information. So insert table किया था इसके अंदर. Okay, so I have that information. So different databases there. And tables in that. Uh, yes, we so I'll check the tables for this. See, log table is there. Select all from was there. There is a problem because we selected the different database. So for that, the query is not executed. So for that, we need to select that tool that we can execute our query. See, we did that information. We stored that information while doing the operations. Okay. So inside that we can execute that query. Just wait. We'll check for that. Otherwise, we'll follow that rule. Insert into the table. And after that, I want to insert the value. Value double quote. I want to insert the value. So insert log. See, we successfully use that. We successfully use that this technique also. I think we forgot the values option one. That's why it generated the error. See, it generated the error because we forgot about the values. Now we can store that information into called as a student table. So here we have student table values, and the entry will be auto incremented. So that's why there's no need to pass the information. Rohit, okay, so just trying to execute it on bucket and statement. Execute it again, it will generate an error. Insert into student values because see input syntax for integer heat. So, but what about the serial data type? If you pass the value, what serial data type? So, number will pass. So then today here we get the error. Okay. So, okay, so because of serial data type, it won't be work, but we'll do it in XYZ. So it's pass as one name, comma. Now it will be executed. We already have the data. Just will replace that too because we given the primary key was that why we did not get the data. See, we get the data. Just retrieve the data to the XYZ. So select all from XYZ. Terminate it. Get the data. See, we get the data. One, two, to hit the case. So we can insert by using this phase also. So we can insert the data inside the table by using this way, and we already did the practical by using the another way. Okay, so make a note of that while performing this operation. You can use both the way, but make a note of that key ENA use karna while using a serial data type. So just follow the rules. Okay. Now here's the insert operation. Use this method. Its proper method कि किस column में क्या data जा रहा है. So you will get the brief idea regarding. So this is overall about the insert operation. So now we'll perform the update operation, and after that we'll perform the delete operation. Okay. So it's quite easy operation. So for example, first of all, I will retrieve all the data from the select table, sorry, from the student table. From here I want to use table name as student. I will retrieve all the data from student. So I have these three rows inside that, and I want to change the mobile number of Ravi. I want to change the mobile number of Ravi because it's duplicate number and I mistakenly entered that number. So assume that such a scenario, and I want to change that number. So for that, just we need to use the update command, and the update command is used like that. The name of table, which table you want to update. So for example, here we need to specify the table name, and after that set value, set the column name. So here my column name is column UVMN column underscore name we need to specify, and is equals to value, equals to value where condition. We need to follow this syntax, and I already given that update command. Update table name, set column name, value name, first column, second column, जितने भी करना है, just make a note that separate by using a comma, and after that add where clause. Okay, because we need to update which table, which row, we need to specify that, and we can provide where condition by using the unique number primary key, so you will get the brief idea regarding that. Okay, so this is the concept. So here I will have to update the name of table is student. So for that, here I will specify the name of table update student. Here I want to use a set. Don't forget capital case and small case option. Okay, जो भी color में आते हैं वो capital case में लिखो आप, because these are the QD or commands. Okay, so set, I want to change the student contact number. So for that I will use student underscore contact is equals to. Okay, make a note of that this attribute is a string or varchar. So for that we need to insert value inside the single quote. Okay, if we're trying to insert the value without single quote, we get the error. Okay, so here I want to add 904 904 4155 and update student set student contact, and I set the value. I don't want to change anything else, just I want to change this value. I want to provide the condition right now, so here I want to provide a condition where stud underscore id is equals to 4. So here I will provide stud underscore id is equals to 4. Write in a single line, you can write if you don't want. Okay. This is the this is the primary key and this one is integer, so there is no need to pass the value inside the single quote. Okay. So if you want to change the number by using another attribute, yes, you can do. So here instead of that student ID, I want to specify the student name is equals to uh, Ravi. So which name? First name. So we can execute such type of query also. Okay, so it's depending on you which column you need to select. It's depending on you. Okay, so that yes, I'm trying to execute this. We get the output say executed, query written successfully. So just retrieve the information, select everything from try to execute it. See, Ravi is there and whose address, yes, whose mobile number is changed. Whose mobile number is changed. Okay, so if you want this ascending order, then we already learned about that order by. Okay, so here we need to specify ascending order and here we need to specify the attribute ID. So trying to execute it, we get the data in order by. See, don't worry about it. 3, 4, 5. So we learn about the order by and we can use this concept in insert retrieve operations also. Okay, so we get the data. So can I able to change the value? Yes, we did the change. We did the change value. Okay, so earlier it was 9527 958895. Now it was 904 904 4155. Okay, so we can change the value. So suppose if you want to change the email address by using id, we can change it. Just okay, so update student set student email. I want to change the email address. I want to remove the one. So I want to use this will change the another attribute. Just yeah, Priya email ID we need to change. So, yeah, that where student ID here we'll select the ID. Earlier we selected the first name. The number was 4. We can execute that. We are trying to execute it. Get successfully matches. Just one option over here. That's page history is there. Clear history is there. So we check for that. There's an option called history. So we get that previous entered the query, so we can easily copy and paste it. You will I will update in later. Okay, so I use that. So I don't know that. So we'll use it in later. Okay, just click it over here and just retrieve the table. So check the Priya email ID whether it is executed or not. It's not executed yet. Just using which device CSC databases? Using device CSC database. Right click and refresh it. By mistakenly we changed the email ID of We are now okay. So we did a mistake in last option, so that's why we get the option Priya. So we successfully changed the email ID, but we provide the ID as two, so that's why here the information will be updated. In that section, we need to provide the ID as a five. So once we provide the ID as a five, we change the value. Student ID is equals to four, not five. Or not, we need to change. Here we need to change the email. Student ID is five. That value executed. We successfully updated. So what about four? We'll update the four also. That value is there. We add the red gem. Have the records of the all files. See, we get the updated information. 3 5 data is not in ascending order, but we get the actual email IDs. Okay, so for that, if you want ascending order, yes, if you don't want to provide ascending, descending, by default it will be treated as ascending. Okay. So if you want to provide, then you use ASC. We already discussed about that. If you want to provide DESC, descending order, we get the data in descending. Okay. So we already learn about that, ascending nature and descending nature. Okay. So this is about the update operation. So if you have any query, let me know, we'll discuss. And the last operation is delete. So if you want to delete the record, so simply just we need to use a keyword called as a delete, that the table name. Here we have option called as a student, delete student. Okay, so 1 minute update is there. So just here we need to specify delete from keyword, and after that we need to specify the where clause. Okay, we can use where attribute. After that we can use column name, any column name. I can use student ID, I can use student if name, I can use student last name. For example, if I trying to delete the student whose last name is Zada. Okay, so for that, the record pre number and file number, the both the records will be deleted. Okay, let's do that. Student underscore L name equals to, inside that only use delete from student where student last name is equals to Yadav, so it will be deleted. See, deleted. How many records are deleted? Two records are deleted. Okay, so just select it. All student. See, we get the records. Only one record. Why? Because we perform the operation. So delete operation is quite easy. So if you want to delete the rows, we can do. So instead of that first name, suppose I want to use student ID is equals to 2. Right now I don't have any record. Okay. So click on that. We perform the operation successfully, but how many records are deleted? Zero. Because that record is not available. Okay. Make a note of that. If you're trying to use a 4 over here, 4, then one record will be deleted. See how many records are deleted? One record. Here, just from last time, select all from the student. Nothing, because all data will be. So this is overall about insert, update, and delete. So if you have any question, let me know. We'll discuss, or you can make it in a chat box. A question into chat box. If you have, if you don't have, then let me know about that. Okay, do the operation on create, update, and delete, and we'll do in morning tomorrow. Tomorrow is there is no lecture because right now I am at home, so I need to travel from my home to working place. So for that, tomorrow morning we don't have any lecture. But if we get a time at afternoon session, like after 6 o'clock, then I will make a message, and after that will I will update you and we'll conduct the lecture. Okay, so just do the practice on insert, create, and delete. Okay, so tomorrow's session is the most important session. So just